Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't go 9 rounds without doing my own recap. All the others, I have typed up the scripts, but they were read by AI, so I apologize if they're not the usual quality, but we are back to do this one. And it was a decent round. All the players are attempting to qualify for the final leg in the Grand Chess Tour. Of course, the first game we're going to look at is Fabiano Caruana, confirmed candidate, versus Gukesh, world champion, and Gukesh has not had a great event. His 2025 has otherwise been good. I made a video about that yesterday, and his world championship reign, but he is fighting Fabiano Caruana. There are, of course, we'll get into some of the standings a bit later, but let's first have a look at this game. So Fabi's got the white pieces, Gukesh has got the black pieces, e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. Fabiano Caruana, formerly of Italy, playing the Italian opening. Bishop to c5, the gioco piano, and castles. Not the most common move. The most common move is probably c3, but it is still a well-played line, potentially setting up some sort of Deutsch gambit, potentially. I don't think Fabio will play the Deutsch gambit, but it'll be fun. Knight to f6, and he elects to play d3. We get d6, and now c3, so just a slightly different move order. a6, a4, bishop to a7, h3, queen e7, b4, bishop to e6, knight to bd2, short castles, rook e1, rook fe8, queen to b3, h6, bishop takes, queen takes, and we get this trade. The players have spent a total of about 15 minutes to get to this position, and they don't think for a lot. Gukesh spends a little bit of time here and there, but this is a quiet Italian for the moment. We'll see if it gets a bit spicy, but there is a trade in the center from Gukesh. He seeks clarity. Fabi happy to trade as well, and we get another trade. We move the knights out of the way. Now the king side looks to be locking up a little bit. King coming towards the center. The rook looks to infiltrate. We get this exchange where we've got two pieces potentially for the rook, check, and we pick this up. So Gukesh is a rook down. What? Am I reading that right? No, the material is equal as we trade off minor pieces. Material is completely equal, and they get to a rook endgame, and they trade a set of rooks. All the pawns end up on the same side, and they repeat moves and make a draw. So not much to say about this game. You can see that they did think about it. There was a bit of a tactical sequence somewhere here around move 20 or so. You can see there are some tactics flying with what's hanging and what's not hanging. So we get this trade in the center. Bishop takes, rook takes. And we get all the way here. You can see the rook gets kicked out, so we lose the pawn. And instead of taking the bishop, we take the knight. So a nice discovered attack wins the pawn, but there's check, and then we pick up this pawn. So my bishop's hanging, but your knight's hanging, so we get this. So a nice little tactical sequence there, and we liquefy all the pawns, and once they were here, these players are too good not to draw this, so they repeat moves. So Gukesh ends the tournament with 4, I do believe. Yes, so he finishes with 4 out of 9, so -1, so not bad. He had suffered a defeat to Praggnanandhaa in the first game, and he then bounced back to beat Nodirbek Abdusattorov. He then had draws against Sam Sevian, MVL, Jan Krzysztof Duda, and Alireza Firouzja. He then lost to Wesley So, who we will talk about in just a moment. Yesterday he drew against Levan Aronian, and obviously last night he drew against Fabiano Caruana. In terms of Fabi, oh, I didn't mean to do that. We need to go back. What's going on? The whole thing's breaking. Okay. Yeah, okay. So Fabiano Caruana finishes 5.5, so pretty good score. No loss for Fabi, so he goes undefeated and he won 2 games. His wins coming against Alireza Firouzja and Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Nodirbek obviously only claiming his first win yesterday. Next game we'll look at, if I can get this thing to work. Come on, we're back recording a video and the whole thing is breaking. Oh boy. Jan Krzysztof Duda versus Maxim Vachier-Lagrave. Yes, there we are. These players did not bug around at all. We had d4, knight f6, c4, g6, and we got a Grunfeld defense. I love a Grunfeld. It's a very fighting opening, but not the way the boys played today, where we got a repetition of moves. And after 15 moves and about 10 minutes of play, they were out of there. So Maxim Vachier-Lagrave finishes the tournament with 4.5 out of 9, so exactly even. He makes 9 draws, Maxim Vachier-Lagrave. Jan Krzysztof Duda, on the other hand, also 4.5. He had 1 win and 1 loss. So win against Nodirbek Abdusattorov and a loss against Alireza Firouzja. So fine tournaments from them, but they're not in contention, obviously, in terms of the overall standings. We next move to Praggnanandhaa versus Levan Aronian. Now these players are kind of in contention, but remember, they're not so much obsessed with winning the tournament as qualifying for the end of the Grand Chess Tour. So we had e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and a 4 knights. If you're a new chess fan, if you ever see this by 2 grandmasters, they are about to make a draw. h3, bishop here, we trade, take, and yeah, there's not much to be said about this. They trade a lot of stuff. There's another one, and yeah, a set of rooks goes down, this goes down, same colored bishops, equal pawns. These two did not bugger around at all. We locked up the structure and then repeated moves. And both of them spent 15 minutes the most. So if we look at Praggnanandhaa, his tournament was pretty good, 5.5 as well, so the same as MVL and Jan Krzysztof Duda. He had a win against Gukesh in the opening round, a fabulous game that he played, and he scored against Alireza Firouzja as well. Levan Aronian, he finishes with 5, so half a point behind. All draws and 1 win. That was against Nodirbek Abdusattorov in the first round. Alright, the fourth game we will be looking at then is Sam Sevian versus Alireza Firouzja. e4, e5. Sam Sevian's had a pretty decent event, but we see another 4 knights. This one's slightly different. We grab the pawn in the center, but there's a trade of queens, and we win the pawn back. So not much to be said about this. Alireza's got more time than he started with. As we maneuver the pieces, you can see they're slightly less willing to trade. They keep the structure very locked, but they bring the kings to the center, and then we get the rook trade, and there's nothing to be had here, so they shuffle their kings and make a draw in 26 move, and neither player spent more than 20 minutes on the clock. And if you've got this far, you're probably thinking, oh, the game's a draw. Well, maybe. Maybe not. So Sam Sevian finishes on 4.5, making exactly 9 draws. So that leaves him the same as MVL, I do believe it was. Alireza Firouzja finishes on 3.5. He suffered 3 defeats, that being to Fabiano Caruana, Praggnanandhaa, and Nodirbek Abdusattorov, but he obviously scored a win against Jan Krzysztof Duda. We saw that earlier. So a bit of a rough tournament for Alireza. And now we move to the final game. Nodirbek Abdusattorov versus Wesley So. If Wesley So wins this, I do believe he wins the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. So we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4. So and d4. Ooh, that's spicy. So we get this trade, and the idea is to push. You displace the knight. We strike back with d5 and bishop to b5, not even taking en passant. Knight drops back, so we can castle, and we can take, and now look at this structure. I don't understand how you're going to play chess with this structure. So knight takes d4, knight drops back to b8. Ladies and gentlemen, just look at that move. Just look at it. Knight to b8. I don't think there is there is, that of money that you could use to pay me to play that move. That is so passive. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't push the pawn, or you wouldn't play the bishop out this way. I suppose there's tactical complications. I'm nowhere as good as Nodirbek Abdusattorov, but this move just looks so depressing. Knight to c3, and then short castles for black. Queen f3, and white's just chilling. Bishop to e6 is a slight inaccuracy. We get knight to c2, queen e6, c4. Oh, what happened here? We're frozen again. Maybe. Yeah. Back. Okay, king h8. What's your favorite flavor of energy? Let me know. I've currently got the grape. It's pretty good. Knight to f4. You can see white is rolling forward. These black pieces just... I don't know what they're doing. This rook is a stoner in the corner. This knight's only move is to go there, but that puts that under severe pressure. These knights are nicely well placed. This bishop is really supporting the attack. The queen is out. And you could probably play rook e1 or f4 to liberate the rook at some point. So we get c5, the only really move you can play, and strike back. We get takes. Now the rook is open. The queen's a bit closed in, but that's fine. It'll do a good job if the bishop drops back or is able to trade of laterally defending what could be a weakness. c4, lovely move, striking back in the center, and now d4. It's an inaccuracy. Strangely enough, taking this and giving yourself tripled pawns is the best move. Strangely enough. To me, as I'm sure to Nodirbek, this looks natural. Because then it's anchored in, and it's a pass pawn. At the end of the day, it's a pass pawn. So, I don't know. d4 was slight inaccuracy. Queen to h3, we are now definitely threatening checkmate. Or at least some devastating attacks. Rook to f5 briefly prevents it. We get now g4, trying to displace the rook. Rook drops back to f7. But a reminder, in case you're new, pawns do not go backwards. So that could definitely be a weakness for Wesley So, but he is definitely pressing for a win here. Knight to d3, knight c6, bishop to d2. Now white's rooks are connected. Knight to b4, looking for an exchange. We trade like this and play f4. Rook af8, rook f2, and rook af1. Wesley So has got one idea in mind. That is to play f5. That is to break everything apart and fork, and the knight comes in and the queen comes in, and then it's to mate. Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Nodirbek, meanwhile, is going to try and survive and break through here on the queen side. So let's see who wins. g6, queen to g2, c5, knight e4. Oh, queen e4, not knight e4. Queen to c8, d3. So we've kind of locked down the queen side a little bit. This knight's doing a great job of making sure this pawn is not too much of a problem at the moment. But can we break through? Because you can't really play f5. f5 would be great. You can't play it. So we get a4 now. Takes, and now look at this, queen. You take, and now you ruin two pawns at the same time. Was that something worth doing? Well, knight to b2 defends both pawns. Bishop to d8. Rook f3. Bishop e7. There's nothing Nodirbek can really do. King to g2. Bishop to d8. As I said, there's nothing he can do. He can only really take a sip of his water and play bishop e8, bishop d7. Bishop d8, bishop e7. So king f2 now. Wesley So's king is going for a walk. Queen a7. Oh bother. The best move in this position is to play a move that doesn't look like it makes any sense. It's to play d3. Because strangely enough, taking it's not a good move. The best move is to play king to g3, according to the engine. But taking it just seems to kill your coordination enough. So for example, if you play queen takes d3, then we have bishop h4 check. And now all of a sudden you've got rooks infiltrating on this file. Because let's say you play king to g2. Now you have rook d8. And black gets the open file, black gets the counterplay. Very, very deep and devious idea. I'm not surprised he didn't find it. So we had bishop to d8. King a2, and obviously not d3, but queen a7 was the inaccuracy, because now we get king e2. Queen comes forward, but now king d1, queen e8, and the king has made it to the other side of the board all the way to b3. Now this knight can give up the defense of these and come back and join the attack. And white's just up a pawn. Rook ff7, and now h4. And because you've evacuated the king, you can now commit all of these pawns to help you extract the black king. And this just keeps going from bad to worse. Rook f8 is another mistake, an inaccuracy. Rook f7 was better. And now h5. g5, and now we bring the rook. Rook f1. Takes, and we bring the rook. We don't even take the pawn. Rook f7 is an inaccuracy. Rook takes f4. Also a slight inaccuracy, but Wesley So is completely winning. King g8, the final mistake. Rook takes, and now the queen comes in. And there is nothing that can be done. The king comes forward, we bring the knight, it blockades everything. Your dark squared bishop is just looking into your own pawns. It's got no target except for this. It's now about finding the right way in for white, and they get it. A g5, and the queen is buggered. It's trapped. The only way to keep the queen on the board, because you can't take this. I hope you realize this, because queen to xd6 is devastating. It's mate in 24. So the only way to keep the queen on the board without taking the pawns is to go here, and you still give up this. And it's equally devastating. It's not quite mate in 26. So that was the win. So looking at Nodirbek, he had a really rough tournament. He finished 2.5. Unfortunately, he was a bit of a whipping boy for this tournament, suffering defeats to Levan Aronian, to Kokesh, to Fabiano Caruana, to Jan Krzysztof Duda, and in this final round to Wesley So. His only win coming against Alireza Firouzja, and then he made, of course, the 3 draws. Wesley So finishes on 5.5. So there was a tiebreak, and Wesley So did go on to win that tiebreak. He played, it was Jan Krzysztof Duda, and I think Fabiano Caruana as well. I think there was like a 3-way tiebreak. I mean, we can check. No spoilers, I've told you who's won, I suppose. Sinquefield Cup playoff. It was Fabiano Caruana and round robin, round 3. Oh, so it was a 3-way, so they played 3 games. So Wesley drew with Fabiano Caruana. Then Wesley So beat Praggnanandhaa, and in the first round, Praggnanandhaa beat Fabiano Caruana. So Wesley So finished 1.5 out of 2, so he won the playoff to win the Sinquefield Cup. Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that recap. We've gone about 20 minutes or so. Subscribe if you're new around here. It's always good to see you. I see we had a bunch of skip frames, so hopefully that's good. I'll check the video again, otherwise I'll have to re-record. Cheers!